And we're live. Welcome everybody to the Pressure Cooker. Been a while. Lakers haven't had a national TV game that falls on a weeknight. I'm Anthony Irwin here for Silver Screen and Roll. As you can see down at the bottom, follow Silver Screen and Roll podcast at Lakers SBN Pods. Had a really fun time today, by the way, hopping on Twitter Spaces from Silver Screen and Roll's Twitter presence at Lakers SBN. We're going to do those every Tuesday, so those are fun. We're checking in here on the Lakers. 102-89, been an ugly fourth. LeBron has done some really cool stuff, which is always really fun. But fourth quarter shooting, not exactly ideal. You do with it what you can, though. Anthony Davis being back tonight is the big story. That is going to be the big story moving forward as we head into the analysis of this game. That'll be the main talking points all over the league, basically, is what does this guy look like? What does his return mean for the Lakers? I think the big takeaway from where I'm standing, and some of it might be confirmation bias, is that Davis looks thinner, noticeably thinner. And, you know, given how at times slow he has looked this season, him losing just, oh man, Reeves missed him. It's okay. LeBron, I guess, can just finish it. But AD losing a little bit of weight, getting a little more nimble, all that good stuff is really good here for the Lakers. We are 3 minutes and 50 seconds left in this game. 104-89 Lakers. Stanley Johnson just spiked. Somebody shot, they called a foul. Let me know what your takeaways are from watching AD coming back, from seeing some of the lineup choices over the course of the game. That was one of my takeaways here, is that Avery Bradley continued to start on the night. Bradley is a -5 in a game that the Lakers are up by 15. Carmelo Anthony plus 15, Malik Monk plus 17, Austin Reeves plus 18. Monk and Reeves, essentially specifically, would be getting any and all of Avery Bradley's minutes. Talen Horton-Tucker, he's fallen pretty far down the rotation. Only 17 minutes from tonight. Get middle, get to the basket. Airball layup. Russ has some of those plays. Sometimes Russ just does stuff and you're just like, man, what the hell? All right, 104-91, 3 minutes to go here. I want to say it's kind of a big possession because the Lakers are having a tough time scoring, but Brooklyn isn't exactly lighting the world on fire either. So the Lakers have some, I guess, leeway here. Austin Reeves really active on the offensive glass tonight. What do you have? He has 4 offensive boards. And on a couple of them, they led directly to open looks. At that time, he finished it himself. Again, Austin Reeves, 22 minutes, 1 of 3 from the floor, 0 of 2 from three-point range, 4 rebounds, 6 assists is actually really good. 2 points. You would think, like, nothing to write home about, but no. He's just that dude. We are now, I have to find my headphones. We are now joined by somebody who's going to be a former co-host.
Hey.
Sabrina, how's it going?
Remember when I told you that this season is better than previous ones because LeBron James plays for the Lakers?
Fair. So, like, all right, I probably should have specified back then that stretch where AD was out was worse than the tanking years. But with him back, and if the Lakers start winning games, then yeah, I'll go ahead and say you won that one.
To be fair, LeBron plays like 35% harder when Anthony Davis is in the lineup. That might be an underestimate.
Yeah,
Let's say 37%, just for
it has to be like some
symmetry.
kind of precise, like 37.3% harder.
I mean,
It's
just
like
watching Ron on defense today has been delightful.
because he gets to go back to because I early on in the LeBron at 5 experiment, he was all over the court and all that stuff, and like 3 games later, he was like, "Oh my god, I."
That's why they started playing drop again, so that he didn't have to move around
He's
as
like,
much.
I can't do that. You guys, it's like that scene from Superbad. He's like, he's the fastest kid alive.
LeBron is an outstanding help defender. Making
Yeah.
him your primary backline guy is just a waste of his, not a waste, but like it's a
Yeah.
misuse of his talents, I would say.
But it was the only use of his talents there
Correct,
that,
yeah. He
didn't
was the best
feature
possible
DeAndre
rim
Jordan.
protector on that roster. Yeah.
Which, we can, I guess, talk about that at some point. 106.93, 2:13 to go here. LeBron just Kirk Cousins to pass into double coverage for AD there. Didn't work out. Lakers got the ball back, though. I would like to see, like, it's interesting that they're leaving AD in here. I think it's the right move because they got to get as many reps as they can.
What are his minutes at so far?
At 24.
24, okay. So when they said minutes limit, I assumed 25.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of makes sense. I think he probably finishes the game here, and because the Lakers, like,
hurt.
they need like as many minutes with Russ and LeBron and AD all on the court at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I normally, by the way, everybody watching, I normally would do a magic number here, right? But it's 106. Like they aren't going to lose this game. It's all right. So the Lakers take a timeout here, 106-93. I kind of think that they need to keep everybody in. I would like to see everybody remain in, get a couple more possessions, play it super slow, don't get out and run or anything like that, but get a couple extra possessions here where, like, you get 2-man game between LeBron and AD or Russ and AD or some kind of horns kind of a set where LeBron and AD are your horns and Russ has the ball, and just see where it goes, where you feature the 3 of them in a set and see where it leads, because that's what the Lakers are going to need to do here. I don't know. What do you think? You raise your eyebrows at horns.
I'm sorry. It's just I'm also watching the Clipper game right now.
Oh, I was like,
yeah.
Is horns that bad an idea?
Sorry, they were down by like 35 in the third quarter, and they just beat the Wizards. So, yeah.
Well, the Trez subtweets are going to be great, though. Like, the good news is,
after doing this against Doc Rivers and then Trez, it's yeah. Sorry, yeah. I kind of tuned out what you just said there. Something about horns? I don't know.
I'm saying that I'd like to see the Lakers keep their big 3 in, run a couple extra possessions here, and run some horns here where LeBron and AD are there at the top of the key. They are not doing any of that. Everybody's out.
No. Considering all the Lakers have been through this season, self-preservation is also an admirable goal.
That's fine. I just don't think you're going to get hurt with 2 extra offensive possessions.
Yeah, you just never know. Like, Anthony Edwards like rammed his knee against someone the last game against the Nets. Yeah. I mean, it's not worth it. I mean,
yeah, I mean, to your point, you should probably take out Reeves and Monk now. Play Avery Bradley, get him in there, and
a little Kent Bazemore, DeAndre Jordan. Yeah, a little homecoming game for DJ.
I always wonder if, like, a player who, he didn't have a great ending there in Brooklyn. I always kind of wonder if a player there just gets to, like, even if you don't play, talk a little bit of shit, like, after the game.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm sure DJ would.
Is that his style to talk shit? I mean, like, is that why he's the most beloved teammate apparently in the NBA?
Well, you could talk shit about the other organization. Probably not going to talk much to the other players.
Is Joe Tsai sitting courtside?
No, Kyrie Irving also not sitting courtside.
Oh, Wonder what happened there.
Remember there was that, like, really random stretch where they were like, yeah, they're totally going to just pay the fines and do illegal shit to get this guy on the court.
That was a fun like Monday afternoon, and I was like, but wait, it would only cost $5,000 a game to pay Kyrie Irving.
Right. Like they had never thought of that before either. They were just
Yeah.
like, oh man, the Lakers are going to win 106-96. Brooklyn is not going to take a shot here. Sabrina, do you have a second to hang around and talk a little about a little bit about what you saw, or do you got to
Yeah.
head off to Clippers
No, no.
coverage?
No, we're good. We're good.
All right, we'll hang out for a little bit. We'll just talk for 10-ish minutes or so. What are your notes on watching AD again? Because my thing that jumped off the screen, he looked noticeably thinner, and I don't
Yeah,
know
he
if that's
just-
confirmation bias or what, but you know,
Oh my god, the Lakers just make so much more sense when Anthony Davis is in the game. Like you watch them play today and it's like, oh, you kind of see what they were going for during the offseason, because for so many stretches of the last 3 weeks, it's been like, oh, like what was Rob doing again? Like what was Kurt doing again? Like, what was the idea behind this roster? And then
Yeah.
Anthony Davis comes in and it's like, oh right, this one, not the Trevor Ariza fulcrum, but the Anthony Davis fulcrum that ties everything together.
yeah,
Now I get it. And just defensively, he makes such an impact. Like the way that they can switch everything with Anthony Davis and he still can get back and protect the rim. I mean, he was in a number of switches on Harden and you just felt so comfortable. Like even a return from knee injury, Anthony Davis guarding one of the best isolation players in the league. It's just, I thought that adjustment period was like almost not even there on defense. He looked about as good as you could hope for.
Yeah, I thought with AD coming back, this was an interesting matchup because like Claxton is a mobile-ish big who wants to get out and run and might make, because AD, the one thing AD doesn't really like is smaller players defending him. That's why Draymond tends to really, I mean, Draymond does it to everybody, but Draymond really makes AD look uncomfortable because AD, you know, he doesn't have a very low center of gravity. He doesn't like trying to move people. He would rather go around bigger, slower players. And Claxton, I thought, was kind of an interesting matchup in that like Claxton is a smaller player than he is, and yet like you're saying, I thought AD looked very comfortable, especially offensively, going out, showing or switching outright, and it allows, like you're saying, no matter what personnel is out there on the court, Frank can lean on any number of ways to attack the offense, their offense. And you know, when LeBron was your only five, they had like no options, and I'm sure it was driving Vogel insane. So getting, you know, one of the best defensive presences in the league back, it turns out it helps your defense. It's wild. It's the weirdest thing. Yeah,
I know, right? I don't remember AD doing much of anything on offense, to be perfectly honest. Like he ran a fast break with LeBron, and Avery chose to lob it to LeBron, which is fine. You know, like that's great. No bad options there.
yeah,
I think he had a couple lobs in the half court, but like that's not why Anthony Davis is missed on this team, right? Like they've proven that they can score at a perfectly acceptable rate without Anthony Davis. It's just they cannot stop anyone to save their lives. And admittedly, this is a Brooklyn team that is missing Kevin Durant and is not allowed to play Kyrie Irving. So there are challenges, you know, that their offense has.
And James Harden is apparently already thinking about Philadelphia.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything about that, but like,
yeah, I think so my frustration actually in the first half was that a team without Kyrie and without KD was just kind of hanging around, and they were hanging around. Third quarter comes by, they get to within 2, right? And then wouldn't you know it, the good Lakers come in, the Lakers who actually belong on NBA courts, and immediately the lead jumps back up. These plus minus numbers, like it's a flawed stat, granted, but on the night, Stanley Johnson plus 10, Carmelo Anthony plus 15, Malik Monk plus 14, Austin Reeves plus 13, and some of that is down because of garbage time there at the very end there with Reeves especially. Taylor Horton-Tucker minus 2, and Avery Bradley minus 5, Russell Westbrook minus 1. Like, it's clear you either have to defend at an incredibly high level or you have to be able to shoot. And if you can't do either or both of those things, then there just isn't going to be room for you next to LeBron and Anthony Davis. Like, this has always been the math. And this isn't rocket science. It's always funny when people say, like, oh, you think you know more than Frank Vogel. It's like, no, I don't. But this also isn't brain surgery. Like, this like, I wouldn't walk in to a mechanic fixing my car and say, hey, I need a little bit more space over there, because it's a lot more difficult and more complicated concept than, like, hey, it actually helps LeBron to have a couple different avenues going to the basket. And it kind of helps when a defense doesn't have to constantly make up for Avery Bradley thinking that he has to defend like it's 2005 all over again, or whatever it was. No.
Yeah. I'm not sure Avery Bradley
forever ago
that year, but no, I find myself sometimes thinking back to like a few years ago, and I say 2007, and it's like, wait,
we're old. I'm old.
Right.
So, yeah.
Things look a lot better, obviously, when Melo is hitting, 3 threes and Malik Monk is hitting, 6 threes. Like, those are not things that you would expect to happen every single night. And
get out of here. That's the expectation for Monk.
The 9 threes from Melo and Monk.
No, just Monk. Yeah.
No bigger Malik Monk fans than Anthony Irwin.
Nope.
But it just there's a lot of things that, like, I don't like about the Malik Monk Carmelo duo. Boxing out, I believe, was brought up earlier in this chat, and that's
yeah.
It's so funny. There was like a peak Melo sequence in the second quarter where he misses 3 defensive rebounding opportunities, right? The Nets just bungle 3 in the row at the hoop. Mm-hmm. Finally gets the rebound, just like goes down to the other end, post, fade, like ISO. Like, it's just makes it. And it's like, well, that's Melo.
Look, I am never going to hold against somebody else things just falling into place like that. That is, I would be a giant hypocrite if I judged anybody. By the way, I did tell Michelob that I was gonna. Shouts to Michelob for sending us this. It's their limited edition Lakers, and they did this for a few of the NBA teams. You can kind of take a look at it. I apologize, Michelob, for not doing that earlier in the thing, but I did it. It's really cool. Unfortunately, it's filled by... Anyway, last thing before we get out of here. Avery Bradley starting. Is this something that, like, can you with good conscience tell people that might go away?
No. So Trevor Ariza didn't start, which is a great step forward, right? Mm-hmm. But Trevor Ariza has had so much less time to prove himself than Avery Bradley has. So it's weird that Trevor Ariza already has a significant sample of, no, that's not working. But Avery Bradley's like, no, we're going to keep giving it a shot.
I just think with Frank, he's been so thoroughly fooled. Like, it's not that again, I think I am smarter than I think that anybody who can crunch numbers is smarter than Frank. It's that he's convinced himself Avery Bradley is this defender, and it's just because he tries on that side. That's it. He slaps the floor a couple times, and all of a sudden, like, he is now a good defender. I don't think he's a good defender anymore. Like, that's the shooting, I think he's actually underrated at, but I don't think he's very good defensively.
What sucks is that the Lakers are at their best in this current iteration when they switch.
Yeah.
Like, with this personnel. And I think the thing that Avery Bradley is worst at defensively is switching.
Yeah.
Because, like, he wants to fight through screens.
Yeah.
Like, stay attached at the point of attack. And it's like, no, we're not doing that here.
They kept switching, and he kept, like, sprinting at Harden on the sprint, and it's like, dude, all you gotta do is contend. Just contain. I promise you don't have to knock him over. He's good.
That's the problem, is that Avery Bradley, in the system the Lakers played 2 years ago, was a fine defensive player. Right? Like, he was able to do the things that the Lakers needed him to do because he could just funnel into the shot blocking of AD and JaVale or Dwight, right? That no longer exists here. So even if Avery Bradley was the same player that he was in 1920, which I don't think he is, I think he is worse than that iteration. Like, it's just not functionally as useful as for what the Lakers want to do.
Yeah. No, I'm there with you. We'll see if at any point this changes. It's never a good sign when a coach like proudly boasts that the
my guy.
stats are wrong. You know, like it's never a good sign.
Crazy is it's every coach does this for Avery Bradley. Like Doc Rivers famously called him unstatable because
Yeah.
the box score doesn't show what he does. Ty Lue, a couple weeks back, just decided to shout out Avery Bradley in a conversation about switching defenses because he's like, when you have great defenders like Avery Bradley, it doesn't help to switch as much. And I was like, you're not playing the Lakers. You're not close to playing the Lakers.
Yeah.
Where did this come from?
I had a Twitter back and forth, and one of the points that were made was like Avery Bradley is to defense what like a great bucket getter is to offense, you know, and like that's the way that I think we all have, because players look at him the same way. They all look at Avery Bradley and say, "Oh man, that guy's a dog on the ball. That guy he just gets out there and he gets after it defensively." And it's like, okay, yeah, cool, but in a team concept, in the team construct defensively, he doesn't really do anything for you. And that kind of defense is the most overrated kind of defense. Like, what made Caruso a special defender was the random forays in the passing lanes that he would do to just completely muck up and completely gum up whatever another offense was trying to do to the Lakers, or in this case now to Chicago. Lonzo is great at that too, where he just like randomly can kind of instinctually find, okay, this is the pass that will most hurt us. I'm just going to stand right here to make sure they can't throw it. Like that is the kind of defense that typically lends itself the most sustainably to really good defenses. And the whole like macho, like get up in your jersey and stay in your jersey, that looks cool. Like that looks great if that's all you're watching, but that's not the kind of defense you need.
For wing scores, like if you can be a wing stopper who can
right,
get
if he's like 6'7", 6'8", doing that,
It's just Avery Bradley is 6'2",
maybe.
I think he's maybe 6'1".
He's like he's the Iversonian 6'2", you know.
Yeah.
All right. That's going to do it. I have talked way too much today. I have more talking to do here in a bit for Lowdown. Check out the Taco Tuesday, guys. Alex Regla is out tonight, so Aaron Larsoul is stepping in for him on that show. That'll be up on the podcast feed as well. A reminder, so every Tuesday, Twitter Spaces at noon Pacific. Today I went a little bit early. That's my bad. And then
I think he forgot what Pacific time was.
I do not live on the West Coast anymore, so it's my fault. We do have an announcement coming. We got to get all the contracts signed and all the I's crossed and the T's dotted. And when we get all that done, we have a big announcement for Wednesday episodes, the show that I usually do with Sabrina. We actually have a report coming on Silver Screen and Roll regarding those shows. So you got to check that out when that drops as well. Until all of that, I'm Anthony Irwin. Thank you very much, Sabrina, for hopping on. And I guess I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, anytime the Lakers play well, I have to just lord it over you, I guess.
Remember when you said... Talk to everybody later.
My first thought during this LeBron 30-second sequence of steal, dunk, steal, dunk, I was like, man, Byron Scott era is so much better than this.
Fair. Fine.